A month into my first semester, I was already financially independent. Hauling water, $500. Running errands, $500. Switching out a duvet cover, $1,000. Listening to the Queen Bee vent, $2,000. So, when the campus golden boy and his scholarship girlfriend showed up looking for a fight, I didn't hesitate. You can insult me, but my boss, that's off limits. For my loyalty, she handed me the latest iPhone 17 Pro Max. After graduation, while my peers scrambled through recruitment, I walked straight into Weasley Corporation alongside her. Then came the news. The Weasleys had found their real, long-lost daughter. The gala they threw in her honor was the talk of the town. I spotted Victoria Weasley tucked in a shadowed corner, flicking her cigarette ash with a bitter laugh. "Seems I'm not a Weasley anymore," she muttered, the sarcasm barely masking the sting. "You don't have to stay." I just nodded, pulling a bank card from my pocket. "Thanks to you, I've managed to buy a car, a condo, and even save a little." I met her gaze. "So, ready to burn it all down?" Victoria froze. For the first time in 7 years, her composed, regal mask slipped. Victoria Weasley was exactly what you'd expect from an heiress. Stunning, confident, untouchable. I first met her during freshman orientation, lugging a kettle of hot water. She acknowledged my greeting with a faint nod before shoving another empty kettle into my arms. "Fill this one too," she commanded. I blinked, ready to argue, but then she fished out a wallet, flipped through crisp bills, and offered me $500. "For your trouble." The words I'd prepared to spit out vanished. I grabbed the kettles and ran. From then on, my rates were clear. $500 for water, $500 for takeout, $1,000 for changing her bedding. Victoria's generosity was intimidating, but she'd only smile and say, "You work, I pay. That's life." I became her most devoted assistant. Unlike other trust fund kids, she had earned a state scholarship and interned at Weasley Corp. While her peers shopped and socialized, within a few years, she elevated the company to heights her own family found threatening. Fireworks suddenly erupted overhead, spelling out Lily in the night sky, the newly discovered heiress. Victoria and I exchanged a glance, sharing the same look of amusement. The company had just splashed a fortune on this spectacle, and the timing couldn't have been more ironic. Victoria crushed her cigarette underfoot and strode toward the mansion. I followed, smirking. The mansion was unrecognizable. The rose gardens Victoria had tended were replaced with fragile gardenias, perfect for the new princess. Lily, the center of attention, wore an elaborate French-style gown flanked by Victoria's former allies, her brother, and her fiancé. She practically glowed. Spotting me, she curtsied dramatically. "Avery, I'm so glad you're here," she cooed, her tone far too intimate, considering she'd cried at my yelling 3 years ago. "Don't worry, you'll have a place at Weasley Corp, just like when my sister was here." She gasped theatrically. "Oh, Mason, did I overstep?" Mason, the eldest, ruffled her hair. "Of course not. You're the rightful heiress. You can say whatever you want." He glanced at me as if granting a favor. "Be grateful she's keeping you on." I restrained a roll of my eyes. My position at the company depended on the board, not theatrics. Blake Harrington, looking annoyed, whispered into Lily's ear. "When does this start? I almost had to marry Victoria." "What a nightmare." Lily hushed him. "Don't say that. It wasn't her fault." Before he could respond, a stir at the entrance drew everyone's attention. "Victoria, who let you in?" All eyes turned toward the doorway. Victoria appeared under a crystal chandelier, elegant in a sleek black velvet gown that made everyone else seem dull. Her gaze met mine briefly before settling on Blake. "Blake," she said, calm but cutting, "I've been walking through this door for 20 years. Since when do I need your permission?" Blake turned red, speechless. Lily peeked from his side, voice trembling. "Sister, please, don't be angry. He didn't mean it. He just wasn't expecting you." Tears glimmered in her eyes. Mason stepped protectively in front of her. "Victoria, this is Lily's welcome party. It's not appropriate to show up uninvited." "Uninvited?" Victoria laughed softly, moving closer. "Brother, remember, this is funded by Weasley Corp PR budget, and I—" Her gaze swept the room. "Still own 5% of this company. Not to mention I founded the Northwood Project. Do I need an invitation to see how my money is spent?" The crowd murmured. "She's right. She still has shares and the Northwood Project was hers." Lily forced a smile. Sister, I'm glad you're here. We can be sisters, daughters of the Weasleys together. We're family. Victoria sidestepped her hand. Blake pulled her closer, growling at Victoria. Don't be ungrateful. Lily is trying to be nice, Mason added. Those shares were Grandpa's gift to Lily. You're not the biological granddaughter. I can buy them at market value and return them to the rightful owner. Lily's eyes sparkled with gratitude. Victoria only nodded. Fine. We'll discuss details at the office Monday. The whispers grew. Selling now? She's throwing money away. A new voice cut through. A man in a flashy pink suit, champagne in hand. Tristan Vance, notorious playboy and former admirer of Victoria, smirked. Well, well, Victoria Weasley, or should I say former Victoria, struggling, I hear. Maybe I can help. He didn't finish, his gaze lingering inappropriately. Snickers rippled through the crowd. Victoria didn't flinch, only glanced at me, and I felt a twinge of warning. I cleared my throat and stepped forward. Lily paled. Avery, you. I ignored her. Mr. Vance, if I recall, your father hasn't covered the $37 million you lost in Vegas. All your cards are frozen. Planning to borrow from a loan shark to take care of Miss Weasley. Tristan's face turned bright red. You. What nonsense are you talking about? I smiled calmly, pulling a business card from my clutch and slipping it into the breast pocket of his stiff suit. This is the contact for the venture capital firm under Miss Weasley's name. I said, we specialize in helping small and mid-sized businesses in temporary financial trouble. Given your current circumstances, perhaps you'd like to apply for our assistance. The rates are very reasonable. The room went silent, followed by suppressed laughter. Tristan's hands trembled as he crumpled the card, eyes blazing. You're just a lapdog for Victoria. She can't even save herself now. What gives you the right to bark here? I shrugged, unfazed, stepping back to my place just behind Victoria. Her expression remained serene. She turned to Mason and Blake, who were staring daggers at her. Seems I'm not welcome. Fine. A subtle flick of her hand told me everything. I handed over the file I'd been carrying. Victoria tossed it casually into a nearby table. Some humble suggestions for the Northwood project. Think of it as a welcome gift for the company and for the new heiress. Without another word, she walked out. I followed, pausing briefly by Lily. Miss Weasley. I murmured just low enough for her to hear. That gown last season, Victoria donated it because she was tired of it. Lily's face went pale. Outside, the air was crisp. Victoria didn't glance back at the house she'd called home for 20 years. What did you say to her? She asked. Nothing much, I replied, smirking. Just reminded her she's wearing your hand-me-downs. Finally, a genuine smile broke through her composure. Let's go, she said, her eyes blazing. You mentioned burning it all down, didn't you? I pulled up the business proposal I'd prepared weeks ago. The Northwood project, I said. We're taking it into our own hands. Victoria's eyes widened. You were already planning this? I nodded slightly. Someone had been investigating this switched-out birth story for a while. As Victoria's right-hand woman, I was an obvious target for manipulation. They'd even offered me a contract that would have secured my future. But all I could remember was 7 years ago, me cornered by bullies and Victoria stepping from the sunlight, extending a hand. 7 years later, I was walking back into the fray to pull her out. She paused, then ruffled my hair. You're a good dog, she murmured, voice rough. I ducked, laughing. Assistant, boss. The word is assistant. Her gaze turned to the distant lights of the Weasley mansion. Cold, steady, and fierce, she said. Then let's show them who the real heiress is. Monday, Weasley Corporation, top floor boardroom. Mason sat at the head of the table, a smug grin on his face. Lily, clad in a Chanel suit, tried to look the part of a poised heiress, but looked fragile beside him. Blake stood nearby, tense and watchful. Let's get this over with, Mason, Victoria said, sliding a document across the table. The initial draft of the share transfer agreement. Mason picked it up, clearly savoring the moment of triumph. The sister who had always overshadowed him finally cast aside. I'm glad you've seen reason, Victoria, he said, reaching for the company seal. This money will ensure your comfort for life. By the way, are you staying in town? You should attend Lily and Blake's engagement next month. I snorted. Blake shot me a deadly glare. I raised my hands. Apologies. Wishing you both a lifetime of happiness. The Weasleys and Harringtons had orchestrated this engagement years ago, but Victoria's brilliance had always made Blake look inept. In college, he fell for Lily and paraded her in front of Victoria at every turn. As her loyal assistant, I had verbally shredded both more than once. Blake had vowed revenge. Victoria had quietly delivered me a new iPhone the next morning. Lily's soft voice broke through my memories. "Sister, thank you for letting Blake and me be together. We'll always be family." Victoria ignored her, eyes fixed on Mason. "Before you sign, brother, perhaps you should review the proposal I left at the party." Mason's smirk faltered. "Why would I bother with that? You should," Victoria said, leaning forward, "especially the section on the risk of a total capital chain collapse in the Northwood project and the appendix detailing certain individuals illegally redirecting funds from the Dawnlight Initiative." Mason's face drained of color. He shot to his feet. "What are you talking about?" "You know exactly what I mean," Victoria said, calm but cutting. "The Dawnlight Initiative is a government-backed welfare program. If this misappropriation comes to light, Weasley Corp won't just face fines. Its entire reputation could collapse. Forget the Northwood project. The company could fail entirely." She raised an eyebrow. "Still think my 5% stake is only worth market value." I stepped forward, placing another file on the table. "Mr. Weasley, this is our revised partnership proposal. Miss Weasley will keep her shares and have her new company, Apex Ventures, co-invest in the Northwood project, sharing risk with Weasley Corporation. On one condition, full control of the project returns to Miss Weasley." "Impossible!" Blake slammed the table. "Victoria, you set us up." "Set you up," Victoria laughed. "You embezzled the funds. You caused the mess. I'm offering a way to fix it. Otherwise," her words hung in the air. Lily finally broke. "Sister, how could you do this to him?" Victoria's gaze landed on her. "Does it feel right taking what doesn't belong to you? Some things are too heavy, even if you manage to grab them." She stood, heels clicking on the marble floor, and walked out. I lingered at the door, smiling at the stunned trio. "Let me translate for my boss," I said sweetly. "You can let this sink with you, or beg Victoria to save you and keep what dignity remains. The choice is yours." Victoria's retaliation was quick and ruthless. Bits of the proposal leaked to the press, the worst details smudged, but whispers of Weasley Corp's shaky finances and grave risks in the Northwood project raced through the city. The result was brutal, the stock tumbling almost overnight. At the same time, Apex Ventures quietly opened. No ribbon cutting, no glossy PR, but the room filled with the city's smartest players anyway. Not just old money families like the Weasleys, but sharp investment bankers, tech founders, and small business owners who had seen Victoria deliver results. They weren't investing in a logo, they were investing in her. Victoria and I moved through the crowd like a single organism. "Seems like more people are betting on you than hoping for your collapse, boss," I said, handing her a champagne flute. She took a measured sip, studying the room. "It's easy to cheer a winner. It takes courage to back someone when they're in the mud. These people are gambling that I can carve a bigger slice out of Weasley Court for them." Our new office looked straight at the Weasley skyscraper. "So you think they'll throw in the towel?" I asked. Victoria watched the skyline. Mason's pride won't let him give up, but he's terrified of losing everything. If he won't come himself, he'll send someone better at graveling. Before I could answer, Blake Harrington approached, his arrogance gone, replaced by a grim, uneasy gait. It was humbling for him to be the one asking for mercy. "Victoria, we need to negotiate terms," he said. She ignored him and greeted another guest, leaving him facing me. He flared. "You're just a country bumpkin, a charity case. If it weren't for Victoria, you'd be back on some farm. Who do you think you are?" I gave him a bored look. That seemed to be the final provocation. He tightened his fists as if about to explode. "You're just some dog on Victoria's leash. If it wasn't for her, you'd be nothing." He spat. Victoria stopped, voice cold as ice. "Blake, she is a founding partner at Apex Ventures, my partner. If you don't understand respect, leave." My chest swelled with something like pride. He forced out, "My apologies, Miss Lee." "I enjoyed it, Mr. Harrington," I said, upbeat. "If you're going to beg, at least act like you mean it." His fists curled. Then he inhaled sharply. "Fine, I'm begging. Northwood cannot fail and Weasley cannot collapse. You want control? Take it. But the investment and share split must be renegotiated." Victoria caught my eye and nodded. I pressed the advantage. You don't understand, Mr. Harrington. We are not asking to invest in your failing project. You are begging Victoria to save you. I slid a fresh financial report across the table. These numbers arrived this morning. Weasley stock dropped another 5 points after the rumors. Banks are calling loans, and the Harrington Quarterly looked shaky, didn't it? Most of your Northwood money was leveraged. If Weasley falls, your family won't escape unscathed. Blake's face drained. How? How did you know? How we got to know isn't relevant, Victoria interrupted, returning. What matters is we are your only lifeline. My terms are final. Apex Ventures will invest for a 51% controlling stake. Full authority over the project rests with me. How you and Mason split the remaining 49% is your issue. 51% total control. The Northwood project would be effectively hers. Blake leaped up. Victoria, that's outrageous. Outrageous? She scoffed, stepping closer. After you conspired to push me out and steal my work, you call this outrageous. For a moment, I just looked at her. She was so formidable that I forgot she was the same age as me, a single young woman who had shouldered a massive enterprise, only to be betrayed by her own family because she outperformed them. When they learned she wasn't biologically tied to the family, their response wasn't mercy. It was exile. I moved slightly in front of her. If her family could betray her, at least she had me. The intensity in my face seemed to unnerve Blake, who stepped back. Take our offer to Mason, Victoria said final. If I don't get an acceptable answer by this time tomorrow, this folder, she tapped the evidence, goes to the authorities. Blake left without another word, a storm in his expression. I whistled softly. Nice hit, boss. Victoria rubbed her temples and exhaled with them. You can't afford mercy, she said, weary but resolute. Blake's update was predictable. After a night of furious negotiation and self-interest, Mason had caved. The fear of losing everything, combined with the threat of public scandal, proved too much. The official signing was set 3 days later in Weasley Tower's largest conference room. Major media outlets were invited. A transparent attempt by Mason to spin the event as a triumph, projecting an image of a strong partnership and a rescued company. Victoria and I arrived prepared for battle. She wore a crisp white pantsuit that drew every eye, exuding authority. Lily, in an elaborate yet ill-fitting gown, faded into the background. Mason smiled, but the humiliation in his eyes betrayed him. Blake standing beside Lily was all storm clouds. The signing itself went smoothly. Victoria signed the contract under a flurry of camera flashes. Mason read his prepared statement mechanically, praising the partnership and the bright future. Then came the quanda. A reporter leaned forward. Miss Weasley, how do you see this partnership? Rumor has it your departure wasn't voluntary. Is this a form of revenge? The room went still. Mason, Lily, and Blake froze. Victoria's smile was calm, almost serene. Business is about mutual benefit. You separate when interests no longer align. I left Weasley Corp for personal reasons. Today, I invest in Northwood because I believe in its potential. Revenge. She let her gaze sweep the tense trio. My goal has never been personal. I aim to surpass myself, to create real value. I let results, not petty squabbles, define leadership. The room erupted in applause, the tension dissolving in the face of her confidence. The reception afterward was surreal and charged with unease. Miss Lee, or should I say CEO Lee, a sycophantic voice appeared beside me. It was a former Weasley Corp manager who had always whispered doubts. Now he was all smiles. Congratulations! Apex Ventures is making waves. Don't forget your old colleagues, he gushed. I offered a polite, measured smile. Thank you, Mr. Wong. We're all working toward the same goal. Victoria dominated the room. Lily tried repeatedly to approach her, but the crowd kept her at bay. She looked like a finely dressed doll lost at a party she hadn't earned an invitation to. Across the room, Victoria and I exchanged a glance. I raised my glass in a mock toast. Her expression darkened and she turned away. Feeling good? She asked as she appeared beside me. Absolutely, I grinned. Watching you reclaim the world. As your top assistant, I couldn't be prouder. Victoria chuckled softly. A lackey wouldn't dare be this cheeky. Then I guess I'm just very well chosen. I teased, and we shared a brief, comfortable smile, the kind forged over years of shared battles. Victoria's smile faded as she gazed out the window. The real challenge begins now. Mason won't quietly settle, and the Harringtons won't sit back while we claim their profits. Northwood is a disaster. The financial damage is likely deeper than reported. So, I raised an eyebrow. A disaster is the perfect stage to showcase our skills. We turn their mess into a triumph, and it's immensely satisfying. She laughed, a clear, approving sound. You're right. As the reception wounded down, Lily appeared, positioning herself in our path. Sister, can't we go back to how things were? I know I took your place, but I only wanted a family. Here we go again. I almost applauded her flawless performance. Years of practice had made her tears a precise weapon designed to manipulate and divide. Now, as the true heiress, she wielded it expertly. Mason and Blake appeared behind her, and Lily collapsed to the floor in an exaggerated heap. Sister, it's my fault. I'll leave. Just please, don't blame Mason or Blake. I'll give them back. I promise. Victoria didn't even glance at her, walking away with a controlled scoff. As we left, Mason muttered behind us, exhausted. Lily stopped provoking her. Lily's eyes widened. Blake barked sharply, frustration in every word. I told you not to mess with Victoria. You didn't listen. Now we're paying the price. I wanted to linger and watch them unravel, but Victoria had no patience for melodrama. I followed, knowing she had bigger battles in mind. The car door shut, cutting off the noise. Victoria leaned back, as composed as ever. Back to the office, I asked. No, to the Northwood site. Now it's dark. A total mess. Exactly. I want to see the reality before anyone has a chance to cover it up. Mason's numbers don't tell the full story. I nodded and gave the driver directions. Typical Victoria. Decisive, direct, cutting straight to the heart of the problem. As the skyline faded behind us, the city giving way to a more desolate landscape, the Northwood project came into view. A grand vision of ecotourism, luxury residences, and a tech hub. Beautiful, ambitious, and a logistical nightmare, especially given Weasley Corp near collapse. The car jolted over uneven ground before finally stopping at a dimly lit construction site. A towering billboard loomed in the dusk. Its glossy surface shows renderings of a bustling, thriving community starkly at odds with the bleak reality before us. Only a few prefabricated huts were lit, and the sharp sounds of angry shouting carried on the night air. I stepped out, frowning at the scene. This is far worse than the report suggested. Victoria's expression was solemn. Mason's numbers were even more manipulated than we thought. We approached the nearest hut as the shouting intensified. We want our pay now. No more work until we get our wages. It's been 3 months. Our families are starving. Mr. Wong, if you don't answer, we're leaving nothing behind. A middle-aged manager in a suit tried to calm the crowd, raising his hands. Please, everyone, just calm down. Funds are on the way. Give us a few more days. The workers were unconvinced. Their frustration teetered on the edge of chaos. Victoria pushed forward, her presence commanding silence. I am Victoria Weasley. I am now in full charge of the Northwood project. About your overdue wages. The crowd paused, confused but curious. She glanced at me. I stepped forward, opening my laptop. Listen carefully, I said, projecting my voice. Apex Ventures officially transferred the first round of funding for the Northwood project at 5 p.m. today. All overdue wages will be paid starting tomorrow at 9 a.m. Our finance team will be on site to verify and distribute the payments. Murmurs rippled through the workers, disbelief giving way to hope. Seriously, tomorrow? Is this a trick? The manager stammered. Miss Weasley, that's not the procedures. These are not ordinary circumstances. Victoria interrupted, her voice firm. Employees come first. Mr. Wong worked directly with Miss Lee to ensure every penny of overdue pay is delivered by noon tomorrow. Is that understood? Yes, absolutely, he said, nodding vigorously. Relief washed over the crowd and the hut erupted with cheers and gratitude. I leaned closer, whispering. Boss, that money was meant for the project startup. Victoria didn't break stride. I know, but a project can't survive if the people building it don't. Their well-being is part of the foundation. Consider it an investment in the future. She crouched, scooping a handful of dirt and letting it sift through her fingers as she surveyed the site silhouetted against the night. Mason and his allies treated this place like pieces on a board, forgetting that real projects grow from the ground up, she said. Rising, she dusted off her hands. We're going to succeed where they failed. I watched her strong, unwavering back, a figure as steady as an oak amid the shadowed construction. I swallowed my doubts, quickening my pace to stay beside her, already pulling out my phone to coordinate with investors and track every promised dollar. We climbed to the highest point of the foundation. The wind whipped through our hair and clothes, carrying the distant glow of the city behind us and the silent worksite below. Victoria's gaze was forward, always forward. "Avery," she said, her voice sharp over the wind, "notify the team. 9 a.m. tomorrow. The Northwood project officially relaunches right here on the site." I smiled, resolute. Understood. In that moment, I knew without a doubt that Victoria Weasley's era had only just begun, and I would be right there beside her every step of the climb.